Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the weekly Daily podcast. Thanks for joining today. I've got a different camera setup if you guys are watching the video. If not, no difference. No difference. Just the audio, Spotify. Thanks for listening either way. I'm trying out a different video look, though. I got a recommendation from a listener to put the camera closer. They said, "We hate seeing your feet, and you need to stop it now or I'm going to stop listening." And I said, "All right, I can't afford to lose 50% of my viewers." So I'm trying a camera a little bit closer. Got it about 3 feet from my face. I'm recording it on my iPhone. So it's not like an official camera. It's still official. Who knows? Honestly, for $1,000+ that camera better be good. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of wild that we've got all these devices that do a bunch of different things, but we still have the need to get those other things. Like the iPhone here, it's got a good camera, but also I have like two other cameras and the audio's pretty good, but I've got like three other audio things. I need to get back to minimalism because it's becoming a problem. I'm collecting a lot of stuff, and it's just really starting to pile up. But I digress, guys. It's a good day. It's the weekend. It's Saturday. It's September something, 23rd. I just with this camera being closer, it's like a different, you see my face a lot closer. And I did a little test video to make sure I was in the frame, and I had a couple mustache hairs, and so I went and shaved it off. And I feel like my upper lip is red right now. I feel like I razor burned myself. I need to get a new razor. I need to, probably use shaving cream when I shave. It was kind of a dry upper lip shave. I put a little water on there, but it feels pretty dry right now. And, but what can you do? At least if it's just a red upper lip, then it's not, that's better than a full red upper face, which is what I was working with most of college because I wash my face about 12 times a day. And according to WebMD, that's too much. That's too many times. I knew it. I could feel it. You live and you learn. And I'll tell you what, that's something that took me a lot longer than you would think. There's so many common sense things that you think you would, I think I like learn these things later in life. It's like, how did I not put two and two together? And that was one of them. Don't wash your face 12 times a day. Okay. It dries your skin out. It irritates your skin. My face was red all the time, and I literally was just like, I have acne. I have bad skin. It's like, no, dude, you are beating your skin up. I mean, if that's like a metaphorical assault is what it is. Washing with hand soap your face 12 times a day and then going out in like cold winter weather with like a sharp breeze, and you're like, ooh, ouch. I'm not very tough, I guess, because my face hurts. And then I'd go to parties and be like, let me try to talk to women because that'll probably be good. I don't even know how to appropriately wash my face, but sure, I can probably talk to women in like a cool way, right? Incorrect, Ben. You were weird around the board, but you live and you learn. I also learned, here's something I learned in the last year and a half, which is insane to me. But I found myself, it was before a stand-up set at some festival a year and a half ago, and my zipper in my pants, on my pants was like halfway down, and I realized, and I was like, oh, didn't realize that. And another comic, I think I mentioned like, oh, it always comes down on these pants. And the other comic goes, "Do you lock it in place?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he said, like, when you zip the zipper up, do you like point the zipper head down, so it's, because if it's up, then it can kind of wiggle its way down. And I was like, wow, I've never thought about that once in my life, and that makes total sense. Just zip it up, put that little zip head down, and it's not going to like find itself kind of going down. I was like, well, apparently I needed 34 years to figure out genes. So that's good to know. They didn't have that on the GED test. That wasn't on the SOLs, okay? There was no college course on how to wear pants properly. But, sometimes you just got to find things out the hard way. And that was one of them. That was an interesting discovery in recent years. Speaking of discoveries, I'll tell you what, guys. I've got, this week has been it's been a very busy week. And this is not a super new discovery. I think it happened maybe a couple weeks ago. I didn't see it until just recently. And it also connects with a book I'm reading, kind of all these interesting things. But in Mexico, you guys probably heard they discovered a while ago, I think, discovered aliens, and they presented it in Mexican Congress. 2 aliens in like little casket looking thing, which is very interesting, Apparently I think they said they found these in Peru, but took them to Mexico. I don't know how the border stuff works there. If they find an alien, they're like, you can take it to your country. We don't want to deal with that. We have Machu Picchu. You can have the 2 aliens. Okay. Fair is fair. But they presented it in Congress. And if you haven't seen it, again, it's like 2 caskets with these like very chalky, dusty looking aliens, which, I mean, they're like 2-3 feet long, tall, and I mean, they could not look any more stereotypical as far as like how we depict aliens in movies, drawings, pictures, things like that. So it's kind of twofold. It's funny, like, it feels fake just when you look at it, because you're like, that's too on the nose. But also, if it is a real alien, it's like, we've been representing them so on point this entire time. Like, I guess people have seen aliens probably for years, and they're like, yeah, they look like this big head, real short, gray, 3 fingers, and they're like drawing pictures of all this stuff, and we're like, I don't know if they're real. And people, in the past, if there's ghosts or people who can like look from heaven or whatever, are just like, no, I drew it. That's what I drew. I saw it and I drew it, and that's what it looks like. And you should know. Why are you questioning my drawing, my description? Okay, honestly, it looks Signs. It looks like the aliens in Signs if you shrunk them by a lot, because honestly, the aliens in Signs were about human or taller size. These are legitimately, I mean, they probably look like they weigh 15, 20 pounds if their body mass density is the same as ours, which probably it's not. But very interesting to see that. I was looking into that, and I don't know. Apparently, the Mexican scientists studied them, and there's no human DNA, which, I mean, they don't look human at all. If anything, if they're not aliens, they're fake aliens. They're not like human bones that they kind of look like aliens. They're for sure a different thing. But they also look like, if somebody was like, I'm going to make an alien and present it to the world, this looks exactly like what somebody would do. It reminded me when I saw it of Sasquatch Gang. If you guys have ever seen that movie, it's like a movie that came out in the 2000s, maybe like 2008, 2009. Kind of indie movie, not a big movie, but it had Justin Long in it. It had a bunch of other characters that I can't remember. Some dude, he's a side character. I don't know really what he's in. But then the Uncle Rico from Napoleon Dynamite, he was like a police officer in there. It was honestly, it's a funny movie, and I watched it during college, and I have like fond memories of watching it. It was one of those movies that was I think when I first moved into my apartment junior year, we got DirecTV, and when you like get DirecTV, I guess for the first time you get free Showtime or like free HBO, some of the additional like extra channels that you would have to generally pay more for the first month or 2 or 3 months or whatever. They give you those for free to try to, get you interested in those, and then ultimately once they go away to buy them. We did not. We were poor, but I took advantage of them while they were free. And this was a movie that they played over and over and over, and I watched it over and over and over. And it was a very weird movie about, again, called The Sasquatch Gang, and it kind of has like different, it'll film from different points of view, and then those points of view will like kind of connect together in certain scenes. But one point of view was like a couple friends who were like LARPers, live action role play. They would hit each other with like soft styrofoam padded swords and, do spells at each other and throw bean bags or whatever. And then another side was like some degenerate friends, which included Justin Long and this other guy. And kind of the whole premise of the movie is that these dirtbag guys, Justin Long, he's like strapped for cash. And his whole plan to get money is he pretends to make he like makes a footprint in these woods, and he pretends that it's Sasquatch, and he does his own plastering of it, where he like fills plaster in on the indention in the mud, and then takes it out, and he like took it to the news. And I mean, it's just like this. It's just such a corny, bad like nobody would believe that it's actually Bigfoot. But that kind of reminded me of these aliens. Although, these aliens could be real. I hope they are. It's very interesting stuff for me. I'm very interested in space and the potential of aliens, and just all the unknown stuff is very, very interesting, intriguing to me. But if you haven't seen, go Google or YouTube those aliens and let me know what you think. Let me know what you think in the comments. It's kind of an odd looking thing, but a lot of alien stuff's coming out recently. And like I said, I kind of brought that up partly because I'm reading a book that's also about that. You know what? I was going to save this for toward the end, but let's get into it. Okay, we're going deep real quick. I might lose a lot of you, which is, a lot of you is kind of maybe not the best way. There's not even a lot of you that listen to this, so I might lose a lot of percentage of you from the small group, but a small and mighty group you all are. Appreciate you guys listening. I need to do better at promoting the podcast. I'm not embarrassed, but also it's like very easy to, when you do shows, which I'm doing shows very often, which is awesome. But when you're doing stand up, I mean, for open mics and stuff, you're not having people bring you up to credits or anything. But for shows, a very common thing is the host to say, how do you want me to bring you up? And that's more so, it's a little more relevant for higher up people, like if they've got, a Netflix, HBO, or even a YouTube special, whatever. If they've got a special out there, if they've done late night podcast or credits that people use. Locally, a lot of times people say this person runs this show, they're part of this comedy group, blah, blah, blah. There's a million things you can get brought up for. But usually, it's nice to give the host something to bring you up to, especially for more official shows, including like your social media. If you're just like, hey, can you just bring me up and plug my social media, which I also need to be better at. But I haven't really told people to be like, this next comic, he has a podcast, the weekly Dailey podcast. Everyone, keep it going for your next comic, Ben Dailey. I haven't told people to do that, and I should, because it's like we're in front of so many people and have such a good opportunity to just say it. Just get in the routine of telling the host or mentioning it myself, and little by little grow the platform, have more people listen to both the podcast and my social media, to kind of see me as a comic, and maybe follow me if they enjoy my stuff. Come out to local shows, or in the future as I kind of travel around the country. hope to gain fans or people who enjoy your comedy little by little, and then see you next time you're in town. Like your videos, so you can have self-worth. And I haven't been good at that, but I need to get better. I also, here's one of my hesitations is I'm not headlining. I'm not a headliner yet. I've headlined a couple little minuscule, kind of smaller shows, which is awesome. I appreciate that. That's you got to start somewhere. But I go back and forth. I don't really want to plug too much stuff, including selling merch, unless I'm the headliner. I feel like that's kind of like something that once you get up to like people are coming to see you, or you're like the majority of the show, then you're like, hey, here's some extra stuff you should follow me for. But when you're just like one of 7 people on a show, and I don't know. Either way, I should get better. With that said, I went off on a tangent. What I was getting into is this book I'm reading. And it's not around. I don't have it. Oh, where is it? It's in my room, probably. It's called The 12th Planet. And it is a very interesting read. I read it. I think I talked about it a little bit on the last podcast or the podcast before that. Got into just a little bit of it. But I want to go through. I'm about halfway through, and it's a very interesting read. And I want to kind of go through just mention what it's about. And if you guys are listening, and comment, leave a comment what you think. If you think there's a possibility that any of this stuff I'm about to talk about is real, if you have theories on where we come from, if you have just any thoughts, I'd love to hear it. But essentially, the book is called The 12th Planet, and I'm only halfway through, and it's a lot for my head to comprehend, because it's a lot of historical stuff that bounces around where I'm like, I didn't pay attention enough into history to have kind of a good, solid background understanding of everything you're saying right now. But essentially, it's an alternative theory of where we come from, where we come from as a human species. And I'm pretty sure the theory that the author is presenting is that we come from aliens, and these aliens come from this quote-unquote 12th planet, which is, I guess, like an undiscovered as of yet, or a forgotten 12th planet that's in our solar system, I think. I haven't gotten that far in the book, but it's very interesting because the author comes from it's not just like hey, I had this dream and I think this is what it is. He's laying out factual information and kind of connecting dots, and then building this theory from that. And to give you the short of it, it is, he goes through, again, he's talking about all this historical stuff like Mesopotamia and the Near East and the Sumerians and the Assyrians and the Hittites. I mean, so many things that I'm like, what is happening? I'm going to need more information on all of these, and I'm going to need to read a book probably on all of these to fully understand all the dots you're trying to connect. It's too much. My brain has kind of struggled to comprehend a lot of it. But the short of it is that all of these cultures, going back thousands of years BC, so like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 BC, all of these cultures and their writings and their drawings that have been found through, what do you call them? Archaeological digs and just museum, all this stuff that we've translated. And all of these cultures speak of these gods. They have like these, what we assume are mythical fables or stories, including the Greeks, of Zeus, of all these gods that were alive and around at that point. And I think we have taken that as myth. And also he ties it in with, because he grew up, I think, in Hebrew school, grew up Jewish, and grew up like going over the Old Testament in depth. And that's where he started these questions of like, wait a minute, that line, why does it say that? And basically his thought is, I guess, that a lot of these mythical Greek gods and gods that have been mentioned uh, as creating and ruling and intermingling and traveling and flying around and having kind of, powers above what we have are not myths, but maybe factual stories of what happened. And it's interesting to think of that because also if you look at, because he connects it to the Old Testament, to like the scripture of the Bible, or what is the Jewish, just the Old Testament? I feel like it's got the Jewish Bible, whatever, the first half of the Bible. And you look at it and there's a bunch of stories about, the Old Testament goes way back to Adam and Eve and like way in the past. It's not like around Jesus' era. It's like way in the past. And Adam and Eve, creation of man and woman, talks about, people coming down from the sky, these gods and angels coming down from the sky and talking and communicating with people, and people at this period living really, Moses and Noah living these long lives, and kind of all these stories that kind of connect with, or very much seem to connect with writings from these other cultures and events that were happening during that time that kind of connect to have some credibility or validity. And that's very interesting, a theory I haven't thought too much about. I mean, it's something, it's not like a new theory as far as like, what if we came from aliens or whatever, but what if like the gods are kind of like these, whether you want to call them aliens or not, come from like this higher intelligence place and came down and kind of do look down over us and have tabs on us. And I'm curious to read. I'm interested to read the rest of the book because obviously, like I mentioned, I haven't gotten fully through, and it starts, I think, laying out the 12th planet and how there might be this other planet. I guess that's on like a what do you call it, on or orbiting in our solar system. That's like maybe way further out because we obviously know of all the planets now, the sun, Pluto, is that a planet or not? I don't know, but we know that that's a rock that's flying around in orbit. And I think that the theory is maybe there's, because based on drawings and I think, and based on writings from way back then, around the time that these gods, these mythical or real, whatever you want to, I'm not stating any opinions. I'm just stating what I've read. So I think it's interesting, but a lot of stuff is interesting, and just because I'm repeating it doesn't mean I have a strong opinion one way or the other. But it's new stuff that I hadn't thought about, and kind of somebody who's taken a lot of information from a lot of different cultures and times and scripture and all this stuff, and kind of compiled a theory with all of them together, which I think is interesting and unique. But the 12th planet, I think there's some pictures and writings about a 12th planet, and I think the theory is that that's maybe where they are. And that's pretty interesting. Alien stuff with the government coming out and admitting or whatever they did. It's a very interesting topic that is floating around, and I think more people are asking questions and becoming aware of some of the stuff. And I think it's neat. I don't have any real experiences that I've had, which I guess most people, it's just like sightings or visual experiences where they see something interesting. I don't really have any experience where I'm like, that was unexplainable. Honestly, I wish I could say I had some. The only two things, and they're not valid probably, but when I lived in Lynchburg back in 2013, 14 era, I was running one night and I saw something in the sky go very quickly by, and it had flashing lights. And it's one of those things where I think I was like pushing myself running. I think I might have had headphones in, and I'm not like looking at the sky for something. I just saw it go very quickly, and it was like so fast that I was like, I don't think that couldn't have been an air. Like that was so fast. It was just super quick. But it also had flashing lights, like color flashing lights, which are pretty stereotypical of a plane. So that's the only time basically I saw something where I was like, I don't know, man. It wasn't strong enough. Like it's one of those where I'm like, I look back with my memory and I'm like, I'm almost certain it did that, but also with memories, I didn't. I can't say for certain. But also, I think I mentioned this maybe a couple weeks ago on the podcast. I saw a helicopter coming home from an open mic. I got in the parking lot, and I saw a helicopter going across the sky. I didn't know it was a helicopter. I legitimately started filming it with myself. I was like, "This is an alien. This is a UFO." I was in the parking lot, hiding behind my car. There's another guy in the parking lot. It's dark outside. I almost like motioned and called to him to be like, we need to share this moment together. We're witnessing history. And I'll tell you what, I'm very glad that I did not yell for him to come experience with me because I filmed it. I went inside. I was like, whoa, did this? I looked at the video and I was like, that's a helicopter. I mean, it couldn't be any more obvious that that's a helicopter. I don't know what was completely sober. I don't know I think maybe just, I don't know. Maybe I bombed at the open mic and got home and I was just out of sorts. I don't know what to tell you why that happened. But those are my only two experiences. No real ghost or alien or paranormal activity stuff. I'm open to it for sure. I'm very open and likely, you know, I don't know. I don't know if this question comes up a lot, but I feel like it's probably more likely that there are aliens than it is that there are ghosts. That's just my off the dome take. It's not a strong opinion, but I do think probably there's for sure intelligent life out there somewhere. I mean the galaxy, the space area, the whatever you call it, the what is the word for it? Space, whatever. It's a big area. It's massive. It's infinite, they say. And so I'm sure there's probably something out there. As far as ghosts and spirits, I'm open to that. I've never had any experience, but that's also an interesting topic to think about as well. People talk about doing ayahuasca, which and other drugs and stuff. But if you're not familiar with ayahuasca, it's like a root from South America, I believe. And if you mix that root with something else, I think people debate about how it was discovered because it's like such a random combination of like this root, but then you have to combine it with this other random thing and in a specific process of making it because basically the root is like this drug, but your body can only like digest the drug if you add the other thing in there, which like blocks one of the receptor. Something. Look it up. What I just said is probably nonsense. But a big part of ayahuasca, a lot of people will go down to South America and have a shaman. I mean, people do it all over, but it's apparently supposed to be like it helps people say reset your brain. Like you'll kind of really think through your traumas and your wrongdoings and just your life in general, and you'll come out the other end. You'll kind of purge those things and come out the other end like with the clear sense and direction of what you need to do and your purpose in life and things like that. And I mean that, you hear stuff like that, whether it's fully true or not, you're like, that sounds cool. Everybody, a lot of people are, it doesn't do that. You're like, I haven't tried it, but sounds cool. It at least sounds cool if that's what it is. Sounds beneficial to some. Some people losing control like that would be a nightmare. And probably would be no fun at all. And I don't think the process of purging and going through it is fun per se, but I think the overall effect of doing it is beneficial, a lot of people say. But what they say with ayahuasca is that you have a shaman who guides you through it. And I think a lot of people who take it will say that like everybody who takes it at the same time like will have similar thoughts or visuals of like, what they call, I think, mother like Mother Nature. So it's some sort of Mother Earth. I don't know, like will come up and like, metaphorically hug you and give you advice and help you through this journey. And it weirdly sounds like a lot of people, they have like these similar experiences where they're like kind of syncing up with, they take this earth thing that's on earth and then they kind of sync up and go through this journey together, which very much sounds like, Avatar. You've seen that movie where they like, hook their ponytail into the dirt and they're all like, woo, we're connected. Which, by the way, would be so dope. First off, if I could grow my hair long enough to have a ponytail, that would be sweet by itself. I'd love to have a ponytail. Why not? In your 30s, just try a new style out. Give me a ponytail. I'll do it. I'll wear a scrunchie and flip my ponytail around. But if I could connect that ponytail to like, anything, that would be pretty dope. Okay. You know how many people would have ponytails if you could connect it to like a flying dragon? I mean, everybody would have a ponytail. Okay. Where are we going with this conversation, guys? Who knows? This camera is so close to me. I'm trying to look at it and connect with the audience. And honestly, it's a little too close. But let me know what you think. It's also coming down on me. I don't know how the lighting is. I just feel like, Will Ferrell in Step Brothers, where he's like trying to sing for the face. He's just like, the acoustics in this room, I'm trying to be funny, but I'm talking about ponytails and I really went off the rails more than I wanted to. But that's okay. The spiritual side of things, ghosts, haven't had any experiences with that, but also that's something that interests me. I haven't read too much about it. I'm not as familiar. But the 12th planet, if you guys have read it, or if you've read any other books that kind of hit on these topics, or just if you've seen the alien stuff, any of that, let me know. I'm genuinely curious. Leave a comment. Nobody ever comments. It hurts my feelings. A couple people do. I appreciate, Lauren, Peter, Phil, JD, not Ethan. Thank you guys. I appreciate that. Also, I'm not going to go long on this because nobody cares. But Ethan Everhart, good buddy. He's got a podcast that also nobody listens to. So we bond over that. Also, not sure how he puts that podcast out to the public and has a school teaching job and has not been fired. Pretty incredible that's, I get it, freedom of speech, but also, ooh, man, he's not filtering himself at all. He's saying some stuff. Anyways, he's like, I'm trying to start some podcast beef with Ben to get the views up, which nobody cares. And the views aren't going to go up. But he keeps saying that I didn't get Lyme disease and I was lying about it. And boy, would that be a weird thing to lie about, huh? You're just like, I could say, if I'm really trying to get people to feel bad for me, I could say a lot of things of like, I need you to feel sorry for me. If I were making it up and I chose a thing that nobody knew about, and when people do know about it, they don't really know the like some of the bad effects. They just go, yeah, it's a tick. What do you take some antibiotics for a week and you're fine? Like that would be hilarious. I'm just like, guys, I really thought about it and I don't feel I want more attention, and I figured out I'm going to go on a long-term decade plus lie of Lyme disease. I'm going to move city to city, continuing to tell people I have Lyme disease, and people are going to be pretty indifferent and not really care when I say it, but I'm going to move to new cities and be like, that was good enough for me to get attention. And also, so I thought about, it's probably going to be too much editing, so I probably won't. But I thought about, I have a song. I wrote a decent amount of music during that time frame, and it was real sad, pretty depressing music. And I have one song where the lyrics, I mean, it's like very, very depressing. I almost, yeah, it's not worth editing it, but maybe I'll do it later. If anybody comment, do you want to hear the song? Maybe I'll edit it in, but it's called what are the lyrics? I think the lyrics are like, I've been waiting far too long to see the light again. I'm broken, I'm faded, my life has come undone. And I have seen the depths of hell that wrapped around my head. The sickness travels through my blood and right into my cells. Which, I can't believe I half sang that. I don't feel good about that. Sorry that you guys had to go through that. But those were the lyrics. And I sang those kind of jokey, but when I recorded and was doing it, it was not jokey. I was in a dark place. And I'll just leave it there. There you go. Beef squashed, Ethan. I defeated you. Take that. Take that, buddy. But yeah, where am I? Let me switch gears here. So I've talked a little bit about some aliens, the book. I want to talk for a second because I got a volunteer shift coming up. I've got 7 or 8 minutes left. I want to comment real quick. Blink-182. I don't know if you guys have heard of them. If not, what rock have you been living under? They just released two new singles, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm pretty excited about it. They were a big influence on me during my childhood, during high school, during college. And not only just like musically something that connected with me and that was super popular during that period of my life, but also when I started playing guitar, huge influence. Tom DeLonge, his guitar riffs and just playing the songs, very, very influential. They put out a banger of an album, the Untitled album in 2003, I think it was, which was, one of the best albums ever. Let's be honest, guys. So good. And then they broke up as a band. They got back together in 2009 or 10 or something after the drummer, Travis Barker, got in a plane wreck, almost died. They got back together, put out an album called Neighborhoods. I was kind of indifferent about that. And then they broke up again. Blink-182 got Matt Skiba from a different lead man from Alkaline Trio to come into the band. They put out 2 albums that were just, kind of whatever, in my opinion. I mean, they were fine, but they're like plus 44. The Mark's band when they split up a long time ago. Anyways, they got back together because Mark got cancer a couple years ago, and he has since beaten it with chemotherapy and whatever treatments he's taken, and so that brought them back together again. And so the music, it's kind of like them talking about like why getting back together and how they're gonna stick together again, and how it's just a bunch. Read the lyrics. I don't know. It's just one of my comic buddies, he was like, mad corny lyrics, and it kind of is, but also. I listened to it. They're a big part of my childhood. Them set like these big life events of almost dying in a plane crash, almost dying of cancer, and getting back together. You're like, okay, I dig the corny lyrics a little bit. You know what? It touches a chord in my heart. Bless their hearts. And so they put out a couple singles a couple days ago. I've been listening to them nonstop. Pretty excited for the album coming out. I'll say this. I've been let down by essentially every album that's come out probably in the last decade from bands that I grew up listening to. So, a lot of us they say that, I think it's studies say this, that we just keep going back as people. We keep going back to the music that we listened to when we were like in between the ages of like 15 and 22 or whatever. And I mean, that's very relevant to me. Like I'll listen to new music, but also I always find myself going back to the music that kind of I connected with during that time frame of my life. So a lot of those bands, are still around. They're still putting out new stuff, but none of it comes close to the feeling that I got from, initial discovery phase or when the albums came out that time. And it's one of those things where you're like, I don't know if you just, as you get older, you just like, it's a different taste and it doesn't really connect as much or what the case is. But I felt that with a lot of bands, Red Hot Chili Peppers, they've put out some where you're like, I'm trying really hard. I love the Red Hot Chili Peppers. But it's just not the same as some of the albums they put out then. It's not the same feeling. Same with Blink-182 in 2011 when they put that album out. Same thing with, I mean, you can name all the bands. I won't. Just most bands from that time. They're Coldplay, same thing. I mean, they'll put out albums and it's like it just doesn't hit me like it did when I was 19, 20. But based off these singles from Blink-182, I'm like, could this be the one? Could this be the one that gets me? We'll see. Stay tuned. October 20th. Apparently the album's coming out at that point. So we'll find out then. But so there's a little, tidbit about Blink-182. You guys listen to Blink-182? Did you guys grow up in the 90s, 2000s? What's your favorite song? I'll tell you this. I think my first memory of Blink-182 is All the Small Things. That was playing at like some, I think, middle school party I went to. Not like, like somebody's birthday party at like some Elks Lodge or whatever. And not a fan of that song. All the Small Things, probably one of my least favorite Blink songs. They have a bunch of great songs, and I love most of them. But that's one I didn't really like. Anyways, we're going to shift gears again, and then we're going to land this plane, okay? Been all over the place. Let me know. Is it interesting when I ramble about aliens and a bunch of random stuff? Tell me. If not, I'll zip it, okay? I'll talk about ground beef and vegetables again, okay? You guys want me to bring that back? I'll do it. I've done it in the past. I'll do it again. Brisket. Been eating a lot of brisket recently. But I'm about to go volunteer for my last shift at the High Plains Comedy Festival. That's happening this weekend, September 21st to the 23rd or whatever, here in Denver. It's the big comedy festival here locally. It's been going on, I think this is like the 10th year. Ton of great shows, ton of great comics. It's truly a very cool part of the Denver comedy scene every year, where you get to, obviously I'm not on it, but volunteering, you get to be around it. All the comics in the scene are hanging out. You're getting to run into everybody. It's just like a very, it's a cool camaraderie and getting to see comics where you're not just at an open mic. You're like enjoying this experience together, but it's still comedy, And a lot of the comics that you see are on the festival. But it's very cool to, it's been fun to see the shows, to hang around. Hopefully next year or in years in the future, would love to be a part, actually on the festival. But little by little, again, very fortunate and excited with kind of where I am positioned at the moment in my comedy career. And I feel like I'm close to hopefully being in the discussion of someone who would be considered for the festival in the next year or two. But that's out of my control, and that's okay. I've come to terms with whether it's this, with festivals or competitions, or there's a bunch of things where it's like, look, I'm very grateful for the things that I have now, and I'm continuing to work hard, and I know if I put in the work and keep working to improve and get better and get funnier and get my jokes tighter, the more things will come. And whether it's on this festival or other festivals or competition, whatever, you can only control what you can control. But either way, it's exciting to be around it, and the camaraderie and everything like that. It's great weather right now. A lot of out of town headliners, so it's very cool. So I did the first night. I did the door, checked people in. Last night I did merch sales, selling merch with Ticket Sauce, the app, and then tonight I'll do the door as well, or this afternoon. So I'll do that, and then I finish up at like 7, and I'll just hang out the rest of the night, watch some shows, hang out with some buddies, and yeah, should be a fun weekend. It's been fun so far, seeing a bunch of out-of-towners and very, very funny comics. Like, legitimately, the guy who runs it, Adam Caton Holland, or founded it. A lot of people are running it, but he like founded it, I think. He's a very top-level comic, especially locally here. And he just knows so many people, and so many people, like big headliners, come in because it's just like such a fun weekend. And that's very cool. A lot of times we're out there doing the rat race of the grind and all this stuff and whatever. This is a very cool weekend to get together and just hang and like just enjoy a weekend of comedy and hanging out with your buddies and fellow comics and people who enjoy comedy. So it's been a fun weekend. Excited for tonight and today. I've got a couple things coming up that I'm excited for. I'm doing the Colorado Springs Comedy Festival on Thursday and Friday. I'm not sure the day. I think that's the 28th and 29th of September. Then I'm driving out to Kansas City. Going to be headlining a bar show out there on the 30th, on next Saturday. And the following weekend, I'm doing the Fountain City Comedy Festival in Kansas City, October 5th to the 7th. Very excited for that as well. That's going to be, I think, the last festival of this year, unless I get accepted in some last-minute ones. But it's been a fun year of festivals. I've been able to get out there, do quite a few, meet a lot of people, a lot of funny people, a lot of people spread throughout, comics spread throughout the U.S. So yeah, excited to go out there, see some KC buddies and people I've met over the last year or two, and then once I get back to the grind. I got to write. Need to get back to writing the new stuff, working some new stuff out. So stay tuned. I'll talk more about that moving forward, about kind of bits that I'm working through. But I'll end it there. Thank you guys so much. If you made it this far, thank you. Wow, you really went through a rigmarole, a Rick roll. I Rick rolled you with all that alien talk and Blink 182 and whatever else I talked about. But thanks for sticking around. As always, appreciate you guys hanging in there. Thanks so much, and I'll see you guys again next week.